Everybody, this is Janet Belsky, and I'm on to episode 2 of the relationships part of my lifespan lecture series. And today we are going to talk about probably the hardest thing you will ever do in your life, which is to have a loving, enduring relationship as an adult. Okay, so here we have a wonderful, happy couple, and that will give us a model of the way really we want things to go in our life. Now we are going to talk about how things really go. Okay, but first I have my stereotypes quiz. Is this true or false? People were more able to love in, quote, the good old days. It's best to see our significant other as our soulmate. Passion can last for life. Ideally, why not? It should be able to. Children cement a relationship. I think most of us know that that's probably not accurate. If your relationship isn't fulfilling, you really should leave. Sharing all your negative feelings is the best way to preserve love. Happily married couples really don't even think about divorcing. And as you might guess, all of those are false. Let me go on to make my case now. Okay, so we need to get a little historical perspective first, though. For most of history, and in fact, even today in India and some of the Muslim countries, then this was the common worldview. Love didn't enter into this. A marriage was a contract between the families. It was a way of cementing the families. We had arranged marriages, and that we didn't even consider whether the person loved the other person. And then in the early 20th century, you were able to do what you wanted for the first time. You were able to choose your partner, and we developed this romantic idea that if in an ideal marriage, married couples should be really lovers for life. That's still our fantasy, I think, at the moment, but that was when we started to develop that idea. Okay, so now let's move very quickly on to today. And as we all know, marriage is, we really don't get married and we don't stay married. So today, when you're choosing a partner, you're going to be very, very careful. And it's really sort of the pinnacle of getting your life together in other ways. I got my career together. Now it's time for me to choose a partner, and I'm hoping this is going to work. But as we all know, getting married, a lot of people don't get married. And actually now, a lot of people don't even feel that they need to have a partner. Having a partner is actually a far more optional choice of how you should live your life. Well, first, the marriage data. Around the world, people are not getting married. So we're actually more of a marriage society than South Korea, than Australia, the United Kingdom, Italy. We're actually more likely to get married than many, many other countries, but we're still not likely. Okay, or we are likely, but we tend, to get divorced. How common is it to live single? And the answer is it's much more common than it used to be. Here we can see it graphically. In 1990, in the US, maybe less than 1 in 3 people were living without a partner. Today, it's 2 in 5. So it's pretty common to be single. And the marriage rate, of course, went down also. Here are some of the ideas. You hear this from a lot of people. I'm so happy living by myself. Now, sometimes it's people that had a bad marriage. They'll say, I'm so glad that I can do exactly what I want. Living single is terrific. Okay, and related to that, we've changed our priorities a bit. Being in a committed relationship actually moved to second place in having a good life. Of having a fulfilling career, most people see as essential. This is a Pew Research Center. And this is a recent study. For a man to live a fulfilling life, it's essential to have a career or job they enjoy. For a woman to have a fulfilling life, it's more important than being in a committed relationship for both genders here. And it's important to have a good relationship, but not as important. Most single people, especially women, say that they aren't looking for love. This is another Pew survey. This was a survey conducted in 2022. And you can see here that most people are not looking for a relationship or even casual dates. And then we break it down by gender and we find that it's more likely if you're a man to be looking for a relationship or a committed relationship. Although it went down just over the last 3 years, interestingly, only about a third of all women say that they're looking for even casual dates. Okay, but they're wrong because the truth is having enduring, loving relationships and not successful careers are the key to a happy life. And we have a lot of data on that. One of the main pieces of data was a Harvard longitudinal study of adult development where they tracked men from the 30s up until those who were still living. They graduated from college in the 30s, Harvard, up into really their deaths. And they found that the main predictor of happiness, in this case, it was when people were typically married, is having an enduring marriage is like the pinnacle. If you can have a happy, enduring marriage, that's the most important key to being happy. So let's look at how relationships normally go. Let's be honest here, okay? And we're going to look at the pattern over time. When you meet somebody and you, quote, fall in love, first of all, it's got to be about sex, right? You're really turned on to the person. But also, it is true that we connect over similarity. We like the same things. We have the same ideas about life. That's what connects us to other people. But it's more than that. They find when they're looking at younger people that one of the things that really connects us is feeling that this person is better than we are in the ways we want to be. So then we have a critique from George Bernard Shaw, a very, very famous thing. Love is a gross exaggeration of the difference between one person and everyone else. And I think there's something to that. This person is really special, different than other people. And that's why I love them. It's at the early stage. But over time, sex and similarity, and certainly idealization, feeling this person is wonderful, naturally decline as real life intrudes. And here we have one of the things that we don't want to have happen is a long married couple that's basically not talking to each other and they really don't like each other very much. And they have a completely different inner lives. So before we look at the course of marriages, we're going to look at two types of love. And here we have Robert Sternberg and also other relationship theorists in my field categorizing love into two types. First type of love is passionate, exciting, arousing, erotic, the thing I was just talking about. You feel like your partner is just the best thing in the world and you're very turned on. And then we have another type called companionate love, which is loyal, trusting, best friends. This is my best friend and I trust them more than myself. So this is the pattern. When they look at couples who are married lifelong, which, by the way, is the thing that was happening maybe, up until about the 1960s, looking at couples at different stages of their marriage. And the classic is it's a U-shaped curve. These are 20th century studies. Passion, not telling you anything you didn't know, declines rapidly earlier in the marriage. It has to do with newness. And we are programmed to get less passionate over time. And then children and the pressures of life make couples actually more distant from each other. Children is a big strain on a marriage. We'll be talking about that. But then just the ups and downs of living your separate lives, couples tend to feel less happy in the marriage. Then they can connect best friend wise in the emptiness. That's when the children leave, when they're free to fully focus on each other again. So here you have absolute love. And then it was like 4 years into the marriage, I don't quite love this person. And you go down the loop. There are people who've been married 25 years. You're kind of at the bottom, let's say, of happiness, where you're really just, I'm doing my own thing, but we're still married. And then finally, after the children leave, you begin to reconnect as people again, communally, in the communal relationship. This is my best friend, and we're having such a wonderful time together now that We don't have the pressures of the active part of adult life. And that doesn't happen, obviously, with every couple, but that is a pattern that happens as long as you're reasonably happy to begin with, and you can reconnect again with that best friend relationship later on. So here are the lessons. First is deciding you've found your perfect soulmate predicts divorce, and we have studies on that. People who think they found their perfect soulmate are likely to get a divorce. Real life splits couples apart, as I've just been saying, the pressures of life. Happy older couples, you look at them and you say, boy, they must have been happy their whole life. But the reality is they probably were thinking about divorce a lot in the middle of their lives. And if you divorce just because your relationship is not fulfilling, you're unlikely to find marital bliss with a new person later on. The grass always looks greener, but when we look really at the way things go, that's often a fallacy. Now, you should divorce if you're really not getting along. I'm not telling you never to divorce. So here we're going to go very briefly over the complaints. My spouse doesn't turn me on. Classic. I'm thinking about somebody else when I'm having sex. That's a classic. My partner has different ideas. We don't think the same way that we used to, and we kind of grew apart. My partner is too controlling. That's a classic also. He, she, they won't let me do what I really want to do. And this was absolutely a big reason, particularly in past decades, and still to some degree, for why marriages fell apart. I'm doing all the work. This is typically a woman's thing. I'm working and I'm taking care of the kids and I'm cleaning the house and I'm feeling under-benefited. This is called marital equity. I'm doing everything in the relationship and that horrible man, that's what it was, isn't doing anything. So here's what we really want. What we really want in a relationship, we think deeply about this, is we want somebody who just loves us for who we are and really loves us totally. And that's a securely attached, in the ultimate thing, lover. You may have heard the word securely attached. Somebody who's really able to love, somebody who's not obsessive and controlling and worried all the time about whether we love them or not, insecure that way, or not somebody who's really distant, somebody who can really look at us and love us. Not somebody who, the minute you talk about your feelings, they don't even want to bother with you, really. They're kept a wall around themselves. Are you, forget about your partner, a securely attached lover? Now think about yourself. And you can rank 1, never, to 5, always. These are my checklist here. Do you appreciate your partner's different passions and priorities and understand they don't have to be your own? My partner has different ideas than me, or different, I would say different interests, more in the interest realm. And I love it that they have different interests. That's, I really appreciate and can get into their interests, even if they're not mine. Do you allow this person to separate within reason, while being confident that they're putting you at the center of their life as the most important person? I'm happy my partner goes out with their friends. That's fine with me. I enjoy that. Or maybe my partner does a couple things by him or herself or themselves, but I know they put me first. Celebrate your partner's successes more than your own. The main thing that makes me happy is when the person I love is successful. It's much more important than when I'm successful. And I love that more than my own. It's almost like a parent who loves their kid. I can tell you as a parent, when my son is successful, I'm more happy than when I'm successful. And that's what we're looking for, ideally, in a love. Reach out to help when your partner is upset, but be careful not to suffocate. That's the important thing. What can I do? And if the person says, no, let me handle this myself, you say, okay, it's important for you. You handle this yourself. Take joy in loving without keeping score as to who did what. Okay, so how many of you can rank 5 always? If you ranked always to all of those, I think you're living in kind of a dream world. If you rank 3, that's a good thing. That means that you really are tilting heavily to the securely attached stage. Well, 5 is like, I wouldn't believe you so much, but 3 or above would be kind of good in those areas. And if there are areas that you're not so good in, you might want to think about how you can help change that a little bit. And when you disagree, furthermore, do you say to yourself, this isn't so important to me, not sweat the less important stuff, but give in to the big stuff. If it's really important to my partner, I'm going to make a real effort to do what they want. When I have a fight, I'm going to focus, maybe not that minute, but on the part of the glass that's full, the things that I love about my partner, not the things that I don't like. Now, I just want to tell you, nobody can do this stuff all the time, as I mentioned. And in fact, as I've also suggested, many happily married couples considered divorce a lot of times in their relationship, but they ended up focusing on the fact that overall, this person really made them better and made them happy. So how do these couples act? Well, we have a guy who is a couples therapist, the Gottmans. I didn't put that in, John and Julie Gottman, and they looked at couples in their love lab, and a wonderful word, and they had them talk about a relationship issue, and they found that happy couples make at least 5 positive comments to every negative. We are programmed to focus on the negative. That's who we are as human beings. So you have to be very, very positive to balance out the negative things you say. Happy couples don't stonewall or criticize each other's inner being. You're such a mess. Well, I'd like you to be cleaning up the house a little more. I mean, those words, they do make a difference. It seems like they're phony, doesn't it? But if you call somebody a mess, they're never going to forget that. And their body language in happy and unhappy couples, you can see that immediately. So here would be an example of maybe a woman saying, I don't like when you do this. I don't like you this. And you do X, Y, and Z. You do X, Y, and Z. And I want you to listen to me now. And this guy is stonewalling. And what he's ending up doing is saying, all right, that's it. I'm not talking to you anymore. How many of you had that kind of a interaction? That's the kind you don't want to have. And then here we have the positive model. You're looking at the person and the person is looking at you and they're saying, oh my God, I just love you. I love you. I love you. And that person is looking back and saying, yeah, me too. That's the kind of thing we want in that relationship there. Just a wonderful, loving relationship. We all want that. Here we have the source, John and Julie Gottman, for the relationship actions here. Most important, happy couples enrich each other's lives. The same reason we got together with them in the first place. This person is going to, not that they're an ideal, but they're going to make me a better person. They're going to enrich my life. Working around, we're a team here. And we did something really great together. We packed up the house. Okay, so we actually have data that sharing enriching passions can help you become more passionate. And here we have the data. Couples, this is actually an experiment. Couples married at least a decade, randomly divided into 2 groups. Group 1, told to regularly go out to dinner together. That's what we usually ask couples to do. Just sit there and talk at dinner. Group 2, this was a randomly chosen group, was told to regularly share exciting activities that both love to do. And the data is that 4 months later, group 2 felt more passionate and securely attached. Going out to dinner doesn't make it. What makes it is sharing activities that you both love, which is maybe why you got together in the first place. Here we have some examples. These guys like to take a walk together. And so they make sure to go out on a regular walk and whenever they can. Much easier to do it when you're older in the retired stage, but even when you're younger, we're going to take our regular walk every Sunday, and we love doing that together. And we loved that when we were getting together. Or we're going to take the vacation that we really, maybe regularly, not the one vacation that we really love to do. And we're going to make it a practice to do that if we can every month or so. Or if our thing is backpacking, we're going to take backpacking trips whenever we can. Let's figure out what we both like to do so we can do it together. And here we have a favorite movie that we like to watch, or we have a favorite TV show, and we're going to make it a practice to get together at night and just enjoy that show. You can do these things even if you have a lot of stresses in your life, and they are the uppers that connect you, not going to a couples therapist. I'm kind of ambivalent about doing that because I think therapists really, by assuming that we need to get our feelings about, can actually make things worse. So it's like there's a danger zone. And I was trained as a psychologist to actually seeing a couples therapist. Just as important. You can do it on your own. You get together and do the things that you both love. That's much, much, much more effective. Good relationships, that's what your grandma told you. And now I'm a grandma and I'm going to tell you the same thing. Take very hard work. But really nothing else gives us the kind of joy in life except our kids than having a good relationship. A good relationship allows you to love, and that's what gives us joy in life. And throughout this lecture series, I've been mentioning that giving love is probably the best thing that we can do to make us joyful during our lives. So if you liked this lecture, you can check out my website, and I have different parts of the lifespan I'm talking about. I have a growing up part, I have a growing old part, I have big questions in being human, and this was episode 2 of the relationships part, and now we are going to go to episode 3, which is parenthood. How does that go? What are the issues there? And quote, is there a way of being a good parent? We'll be talking about that next.